Hello, and welcome to episode 122 of the REconomy Podcast, our fifth and final episode of this year's summer school series, where we discuss economic issues that impact real estate, housing, and affordability. I am Odeta Kushi, Deputy Chief Economist at First American, and here with me is Mark Fleming, Chief Economist at First American. And we have a special guest joining us on this final summer school episode, Sam Williamson, Senior Economist at First American. Hey, Mark, and welcome, Sam. You picked a very good time to join us on the last day of school.
Hi, Odeta, and welcome, Sam. Happy last day of school.
Yep, last day of summer school, totally intentional. I strategically avoided all the homework and showed up just in time for graduation.
Yeah, you're not getting off that easy. You're actually here to teach us a little something about the cost of living in today's housing market.
Odeta, a nice, not so subtle, maybe, plug?
Yeah, maybe I'm not great at subtle plugs. What Mark means is that Sam actually has a cost of living series on our economics center, firstam.com/economics. Now that was a plug. It's complete with charts, analysis, and interactive dashboards where you can check out any market you're interested in. So in today's summer school session, we're going to walk through each one of these analyses and what's to come for the series. We'll also link to them in the script so that they're easy to find.
Appreciate the plug. As Odeta alluded to, make sure to smash that subscribe button to the blog if you're not already subscribed. Are people still saying that these days?
I think smash that subscribe button is a little bit of old lingo, but the point is well taken. All right, so where do we begin?
Okay, I think we have to start with the first post in the series, which is all about specifically non-mortgage related housing costs. We know that interest rates are elevated and house prices continue to reach new heights, even if the growth rate has slowed, but there are other factors that determine the cost of living.
Say, for example, homeowners insurance, a topic we barely discussed years ago, but can't seem to stop talking about these days.
And for good reason. According to our analysis of the current population survey's annual social and economic supplement, quite a mouthful, U.S. homeowners insurance premiums have jumped 21% between 2021 and 2023, adding roughly $300 per policy each year, outpacing income growth and inflation over that time.
That is indeed a pretty big jump, and consider that this impacts both prospective buyers who are already grappling with elevated interest rates and home prices, but also existing homeowners,
particularly those on fixed incomes such as retirees. Sam, I assume as with all things in real estate that this growth will vary depending on where you are in the country.
That's right. The sharpest increases have been primarily in the South, where annual premiums increased by an average of 25% between 2021 and 2023, adding roughly $425 per policy per year. The coastal cities, particularly those that are prone to severe tropical storms and hurricanes, have been hit the hardest. In some cases, like New Orleans, premiums have skyrocketed a staggering 51%.
Whew.
New Orleans, that's a lot. New Orleans has a relatively higher risk profile. I get it. So that could explain part of the high increase.
True, but my understanding is that the rise in insurance premiums is a result of both increased natural hazard risk and increased costs, among other factors. If I had to list out some of the primary factors driving rising insurance costs, and we don't have to go into depth into each one of these, just for time's sake, I would say it's the increased frequency and severity of large-scale natural disasters, higher construction and replacement costs, population growth that's concentrated in high-risk areas, rising reinsurance and reinsurance availability challenges, and state-level regulatory challenges.
That's a great summary, Odeta. I can tell you've been doing your homework, so you get an A+. So I'd like to dig into that first point a little bit more. There's been an increase in extreme weather and climate disaster events, both in terms of frequency and in severity. According to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, the U.S. averaged about $7 billion disaster events per year from 1980 to 2019. Over the past 5 years, that number has jumped to 23 per year. And 2023 and 2024 were especially intense, with 28 and 27 events respectively, the highest on record. At the same time, the annualized costs of these billion-dollar disaster events has ballooned from approximately $55 billion to $151 billion.
A little quick math for our listeners, that's a 175% increase. Ouch. And on the reinsurance point, reinsurance is coverage that insurance companies take out to insure their own exposure those costs have also increased and have been passed on to their own policyholders. Confronted with these mounting risks and costs, insurers are being forced to make the necessary adjustment to premiums for policyholders, particularly in these disaster-prone areas.
And remember that insurance premiums for property coverage are typically based on a replacement cost basis, which is the cost to rebuild or repair the home with similar materials and workmanship at today's prices. And unfortunately, inflationary pressures have driven the cost of construction materials up by 35% from 2020 to 2023, with prices climbing an additional 6 percentage points through June of this year, according to the latest Producer Price Index report. Meanwhile, persistent labor shortages have driven construction wages higher by nearly 27% from January 2020 through June 2025. Insurers are expected to continue increasing premiums to offset these economic and inflationary headwinds, though this will vary again by geography.
That's right. As we mentioned earlier, areas in the South prone to severe weather have borne the steepest increase in home insurance premiums. Among the nation's 50 largest metro areas, 8 of the 10 recording the most dramatic premium increases are in the South.
Right. Coastal cities where the threat of tropical storms and hurricanes loom large have seen the steepest premium hikes. As I mentioned earlier, New Orleans tops the list with its 51% increase in premiums from 2021 to 2023, translating into an extra cost of about $1,200 and pushing the average annual premiums to more than $3,500. Other coastal cities like Jacksonville, Tampa, and Orlando have also seen sharp increases of 38, 33, and 31% respectively over the same period. But it's not just the coast. Inland metros are also feeling the pressure from severe weather events like tornadoes, hail, and high winds. Premiums have climbed in places like Birmingham, Alabama, Richmond, Virginia, and Atlanta and Houston over the same period.
And outside of the South, Denver stands out as the sole metro where premium surges mirror those in the hardest hit southern markets. Premiums in Denver have jumped 25% from 2021 to 2023 as increased wildfire and hail damage contribute to higher home insurance rates.
You know, Denver wouldn't have come to mind when thinking about high-risk markets.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, but I think the takeaway from this analysis is that the surging cost of homeowners insurance presents a growing challenge to affordability all over the country, even in places where we wouldn't think, both for prospective and existing homeowners.
Exactly. And even for existing homeowners, there's variation depending on whether you're a mortgage holder or whether you own your home outright. That's actually the focus of the second post in our cost of living series. We found that the average monthly cost of owning a home in the U.S., including mortgage payments, property taxes, insurance, and utilities, surpassed $1,700 in 2023. That's a 17% increase from 2020, or about $250 more per month. Mortgage holders have seen the steepest increases, but even those who've paid off their loans are feeling the squeeze from rising taxes, insurance premiums, and utility bills.
Let's put some numbers to that. So from 2020 to 2023, mortgage holders saw their average monthly expenses rise by 16%, while monthly costs for outright owners jumped by 29%.
Now, mortgage holders who tend to be younger and in their prime earning years have done a better job offsetting rising costs with rising incomes. For this group, the median share of household income spent on home ownership hit a low of 19.8. I'm adding that significant digit because it's important here. In 2020, before edging up by 0.5 percentage points to 20.3% in 2023. Outright owners, by contrast, are often older and more reliant on fixed incomes. Although their monthly costs remain lower in absolute terms, these costs have risen more sharply relative to income, pushing their housing burden up by just over 1 percentage point to 10.5%.
Getting it down to the significant digit mark. You two have been studying, I can tell. So it's important to put those numbers, though, in historical context. Mortgage holders have faced similar burden rates as recently as 2018, and outright owners saw comparable levels back in 2015. So while homeownership costs are rising, they're not yet in unfamiliar territory.
So, not without precedent, but the pace and scope of recent increases suggests the American dream of homeownership is becoming harder to attain and sustain. The final part of the series that we're discussing today, which is all about cost burden.
That's right, which we're defining as those spending more than 30% of their income on housing. The number of these cost-burdened households has increased by 3 million between 2019 and 2023. The share of homeowners with cost burdens also jumped to just over 22%, up 2.3, again, an important significant digit, over 4 years.
And it's not just that more homeowners are struggling with housing costs. The severity of that struggle is also growing. Nearly 6 out of every 10 newly cost-burdened homeowners since 2019 are severely burdened, spending more than half of their income on housing. In 2023, 7.3 million homeowners fell into this category, which is a 33% increase since 2019, the highest level since 2011. The overall share of severely cost-burdened households now makes up nearly 1 in 10 homeowners, reflecting the intensifying affordability challenges facing homeowners.
We also looked at the cost burdens by age, and we found that the pressure is falling most heavily on those just getting started and those hoping to stay put later in life. So that would be younger and older homeowners. Since 2019, nearly 9 in 10 newly cost-burdened homeowners have either been younger adults under age 35 or seniors aging in place 65 and above.
And to add a little bit more to this, between 2019 and 2023, the number of cost-burdened homeowners under the age of 35 increased by 40%. Welcome to homeownership. Less heaven is a place on earth and more owner of a lonely wallet. No?
Okay, yes, nice Belinda Carlisle 80s reference. Way to go.
Come on. That was actually a 2-for-1 reference. There were 2 80s references in there. Sam, for bonus points?
Yes, I caught it.
Ah, touche. Very nice.
A riff on Owner of a Lonely Heart by Yes.
Okay, so he's signed up. He can do the singing better than me.
Well, I just think you both should stick to your day jobs, honestly. But
so he even had a musical reference to riffing in there, man. Sam, you smashed it.
Oh my gosh.
A plus.
Also, I'm pretty sure you both at different points have told me you own this record on vinyl. So there's that.
True.
Okay, moving right along. For younger homeowners, in addition to rising housing costs, these younger households often carry higher levels of non-mortgage debt, such as student loans and credit card balances compared to previous generations, making it harder to absorb unexpected expenses or accumulate wealth.
And for many senior homeowners, even though their mortgages are paid off, rising taxes, insurance premiums, and utility bills are straining their fixed retirement incomes. Between 2019 and 2023, the number of cost-burdened homeowners aged 65 and older rose to 6.5 million. That's the highest level in over a decade. Today, more than 1 in 4 older homeowners are spending over 30% of their income on housing.
And the growing financial strain on younger and older homeowners in recent years highlights the challenges at both ends of the home ownership journey. But we're hopeful that growing household incomes can help ease that burden. And don't forget, a lot of those existing homeowners can tap into their home equity that has significantly increased since the onset of the pandemic. All right, are we at the end of the series? Is summer school all over?
We are, but before we formally end summer school, Sam, do you want to talk a little bit about the next blog post in the series and what that'll cover?
Absolutely. So for a little bit of extra credit, in an upcoming post, we'll be taking a closer look at how housing affordability varies across different regions and what that means for homeowners navigating very different local markets.
Ooh, stay tuned for that. And don't forget to check out those interactive visuals. There is so much more data to explore. And that actually marks the end of Summer School 2025. You all, just like me, get an A+.
Whoa. Talk about grade inflation. Either we were that good or you're grading on a curve.
Wouldn't you like to know?
Oh, I would like to know.
Sam, thanks again for joining us today. And thank you all for joining us on this episode of the REconomy Summer School session. If you have an economics-related question you'd like us to feature in the future, you can email us at economics@firstam.com. And as always, if you can't wait for the next episode, you can follow us on X. It's at Odeta Kushi for me, at M Fleming Econ for Mark, and at S Williamson Econ for Sam. Until next time.